Well, good afternoon, Jazz. How you
Hello,
going?
I'm good.
Well, good afternoon, everyone who is out there and watching on our social media world. My name is Simo, and I'm joined by Jazz, and we would like to officially welcome you to Lunch Out Loud. This is our live podcast. We missed last week because I was on at the church doing some building, some renovations, which means we can have some more meetings back at the church. It's really, really soon, which is going to be exciting.
Yay.
But yeah, welcome to Lunch Out Loud. For those who don't know what this is a podcast that Jazz and I do every single week. And essentially, it is our way of trying to work out how we outwork the gospel in our day to day lives. This is a live version of how we do discipleship, really, as we wrestle around the Word of God, as we try and make real sense. We've both found that sometimes we can use a whole lot of Christianese, and we just want to cut through all of that crap and get to the truth of the matter so we can live it out for ourselves. And today we've got an absolute cracking topic. Uh,
Mm, hmm.
do you want me to introduce what we're talking about today, Jazz, and why we're talking about it?
Yes,
All right,
please
so
do.
yeah, yeah, because we originally were going to take on part two of talking about change,
Hmm.
but we've made a bit of a change in what we're doing, which is makes it kind of appropriate. In the last 7 days, or probably a little bit less than 7 days, 5, 6 days, or whatever it might be, we are both based up here in Queensland, in Australia,
Mhm.
Jace.
Yes.
And in the last 6 days, there has been uh, a decision made by a couple of people that would be categorised as a poor decision. They came up from Victoria out of a corona hotspot and were unaware that they themselves had coronavirus and had done a whole bunch of travelling around and potentially spread coronavirus all over the place. We don't know yet. Who knows? So far, it seems like we're getting pretty lucky with this, in that
Hmm.
our numbers just seem to be non-existent of
Mm,
uh, of what's going on here. But what we do know is that there's been a lot, for me anyway. I've seen a lot of fear probably in this last week, more than what I've seen even in the first wave of coronavirus. A lot of
mm,
anger, a lot of fear, a lot of frustration. I just wanted us to address it here today.
mhm,
And I wanted us to talk about, what does the Bible say about fear? Is fear a good thing,
mhm.
a bad thing? Should we be fearing this right now? Or there's a whole bunch of questions that are around it. But really, I've heard conversation after conversation. I'm talking in the lines at different places that I've been, in the lines at Bunnings, in the lines at wherever, cafes, phone calls, and text messages of people who are just, there's fear,
Mhm.
and I think that it's not healthy, and I think we as Christians need to be able to work out, how do we deal with it. So,
Yeah.
Jazz, what are your thoughts on it? First of all, have you heard the fear? Are you in agreement with what I'm saying here today?
Um, yeah, I think that I have, like, now that you say it that way, I've heard fear, but that fear has manifested in a lot of hatred and racism. So
Right.
when I was like seeing everything coming through, I was like, this is actually disgusting the way that people are talking about this. Like, and I was getting really angry. I even posted
Mm.
something on my Instagram, and then I was like, you know what? I don't think that's as eloquent as I think I would like something to be. So it wasn't written by me, it was written by someone else. I was like, yeah, this is so good. And I was like, I'm going to remove that,
Mm.
because I think there's a better way to address what's going on. And I think you're right.
Mm.
It's all of this racism and hatred and just like treating people in a inhumane and dehumanizing way is
Mm.
literally a manifestation of fear, which I then
Yeah,
like,
interesting.
you do see that in a lot of different areas. When people are scared, their reaction is often one of yeah, dehumanizing, I think. So yeah,
Mm.
that's, yeah, quite interesting that now that I'm kind of putting it together and go, oh, okay, yeah, that's
Mm.
what it is.
And it's reasonable for people to feel this fear. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you think? Because one of the questions that I have is fear a bad thing?
Mm,
Like, genuinely, do you think that
yeah.
fear is a bad thing?
Mm-mm. No, I don't.
Mm. You don't think fear is bad?
Do you want me to expand?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, we're not here just to say yes and no.
I wasn't sure if you were going to ask more questions.
I'll always ask more questions.
What I've been learning as I'm doing a lot of self-growth and self-healing, or healing with the Lord, not self-healing, is that fear is actually good, because I'm someone who has a very high tendency of going to fear as my first reaction of things and acting out of fear in a lot of things. And fear is actually healthy because it allows you to assess risk, but it's then succumbing to that fear is when it becomes bad and going beyond a certain level. Like, if you get to, I've done this a lot because I've been on the Gold Coast so often for red frogs, but I'm not comfortable around heights. I've never been comfortable. I used to say I was terrified, but I'm not anymore. I'm not comfortable. Well, I haven't been comfortable around it. And so anytime I go out on a balcony, my stomach will drop and I'll feel fear and I'll be like, oh, I'm so scared of heights. But now I'm recognizing that that's actually just my body's natural reactions of responding to a potentially risky situation. Going out onto a balcony of like on the 30th floor or something, that's risky, because if you fall, there is that, there's a danger to it. So fear is good because it alerts us to, hey, there could be some danger here. There could be something that we need to be aware of. But then when it gets to the point where I was saying, I'm terrified of heights, I can't go near it, and like actually almost crying sometimes, that's not good anymore, because that's letting fear control me and control my reactions and control my beliefs, which is the Lord takes care of me. He guides my steps. So then why am I letting this fear of heights, which isn't even like, if I go out and stand on a balcony, I'm not going to die.
Sure.
So I think that, it's healthy for us to recognize fear and for fear to be part of our lives, but not to the
but
point
by that same token, by the way, we've got somebody who agrees with you. For those who are watching or who are listening, this is a live podcast, so we do podcasts here, but you can engage with it. You can ask questions. You can challenge what we're saying simply by jumping on Facebook at Tuesdays at 12 o'clock. We've got somebody who's commented, Chukwuemeka Edwin Wezit. He said, fear is a natural reaction to prevent us from overstepping our capacity as humans.
Yeah. That's cool.
And having said that, right, it sort of agrees with what you're saying, and I don't entirely disagree with what you're saying, but there is a challenge, because at the same time as saying that, you don't think that fear is actually a good thing, though, do you? Like, it would be better for you to live without that fear, wouldn't it?
No, because then you go and do stupid things.
Such as what? Why? Well, so now you're saying that fear is the thing that prevents us from doing stupid things. But you're saying
it stops us from doing stupid things without actually considering the consequences. Because, like another thing would be...
Wouldn't wisdom do that?
Wisdom is a part of addressing that fear, I would say.
Well, what's wisdom?
Of knowing what to do in a situation. So if you've got that fear that's starting to go, and you go, oh, my stomach's dropping, I'm getting adrenaline rush, I'm scared of something. Okay, wisdom would then tell you, okay, this is how you handle this situation in a positive, healthy way, instead of then slipping into, oh my gosh, it's horrible, everything's terrible, and even like going into anxiety.
So, but like, let me just ask you this then. Like, say, for instance, you're afraid of heights, but I'm not afraid of heights.
Yeah.
Okay, does that mean that you're in a healthier position and able to make a wiser decision around heights? Like, we're both on the same balcony.
Yeah.
You're getting the tension in your stomach, I'm not.
I can actually imagine this, because I feel like this is a situation we would or probably have been in.
We have been in. So therefore, even by the definition of what you guys are both saying, both you and Chukwuemeka, where he says fear is a natural reaction to prevent us from overstepping our capacity as humans. Well, what if it's actually preventing us from actually reaching our capacity as humans?
Okay, so if we're both on a balcony, I feel like my response would be, okay, I'm just going to sit over here on this chair away from the edge. Whereas I feel like you would be like right up there, maybe even hanging over it. But because you have wisdom, you wouldn't go, oh, I'm going to balance on the other side of it.
Right.
So that,
is wisdom the defining thing, or is fear the defining thing? There is, so when we have these situations of the nervousness and the tension in our stomach, all of those things, surely it would be better for humanity to be without that. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Because I
yeah.
think those things, otherwise we go, no, fear is what allows us to make good decisions. No, wisdom is what allows you to make good decisions.
I don't think
Wisdom
fear
says,
allows you, but it alerts you to a situation that you need to make a good decision in. If that
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
No, go on. So it
Well, okay, so
alerts
like a
you.
balcony, like
We're both safe on the
probably,
balcony.
yeah. So probably not like the thing that like where fear really matters. Like it doesn't really matter whether I choose to stand closer to the door or close to the edge. Like that's fine. But then it could be something like maybe relationships. And so, you know, someone who has in the past had very unhealthy relationships where people have betrayed them or people have abused them, they'll have a natural tendency of fear to go, there's someone new that I've met and I want to be their friend, but I'm just not sure how to do it well. And so they'll have that fear. And so I think that's okay. Like it's
But
okay to
wouldn't
be,
they, like people who are in that situation, go to counselors and go and get like actual help to get past those fears, because they've patterned a distrust for people, which
yeah,
isn't actually a
hopefully.
good, yeah, but that's not a good thing.
No, I mean, hopefully they'll like be going to a counselor.
Why?
But
Because they want to get rid of that fear.
yeah, okay. So even me as an example,
There we
have
go.
learned
Come
that
on.
I have learned that I do have that very cautious tendency to trust people and to start developing relationships with people because of past experiences where people that I trusted and people that I was very close with have betrayed me or have hurt me in certain ways. And actually, I was talking to my counselor about this yesterday. But then, so now when I'm stepping into relationships, I'm not going full, okay, I'm going to tell all these people or this new person like all my secrets and everything about myself and be super vulnerable. So the fear has kind of developed because I've been growing through it, has developed into a cautiousness where I'm now, okay, I know that it's not a thing to be fearful of, but I know it's now something to be cautious and wise in. So
Yeah, but that's not fear, that's
first,
wisdom.
now it is. Yes.
Yeah, but
Now it
fear
is.
didn't cause the wisdom. Your mistakes caused the wisdom. Your mistakes, and then realizing, hang on, I've made mistakes in the past that I don't want to repeat. Actually, by the very definition, the word foolishness in Proverbs literally means learning the hard way, right? So foolishness has meant that you've now learned and developed wisdom instead of,
Okay, but it
so
wasn't all my fault. I'm
no,
just
but that's
owning
not.
that
I
all
get.
was mistakes.
Yeah, I get that. I'm not blaming you at all. But there's like a fool would keep on repeating the same mistake, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
a fool is. They're going to go into the next relationship and have to learn the hard way. There's a
Mhm.
point where you've gone, no, hang on a minute. I need to take on the advice of others, which is what wisdom means, is
Yeah.
learning through the experience and advice of others.
Yeah.
I need to take that on because I've experienced foolishness and the results of that. Now I want to experience wisdom and the result of that.
Mhm.
That's not fear. Like, and I would say that people who fear relationships have put themselves in a really unhealthy position.
Yeah. Like I think
Do you know what I mean? Like, let's just take the coronavirus for an example. Okay,
Mhm.
like I'm there is it'd be very easy for us to fall into the trap of fear that everywhere we go right now in Queensland, because these two young ladies have gone around and there's others who have contracted it, you know, third party through them. It would be very easy for us right now to go and allow fear to dictate every decision that we're making moving forward rather
Mhm.
than wisdom. Okay,
Mhm.
it's not fear that says if I'm feeling sick I should self isolate. It's wisdom.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not fear that's saying I should just go and, you know, like it's
Mhm.
wisdom that says I shouldn't go and lick surfaces and should wear a mask and
Yeah.
all of those things. They come from a place of wisdom. The problem is when we allow fear to dictate it, or we wait for fear to be the determining factor for our alert and for our awareness of something.
Mm.
I don't know if that's healthy.
Mm. Do you because I've still kind of maintained that fear is what initially alerts us to a situation, and then we then learn how to grow or like deal with that more healthily. Do you think we can ever stop fear? Because I think we can learn
That's
to
a great
master fear.
question.
We can like, you know, I've definitely learned how to master my fears in a lot of ways where it'll be like, oh no, wait. And then like you self-soothe yourself, and then you talk to yourself, and you go to your, like, you know, you pray, or you go to your friend.
Sure. Go
But
to your
then
happy place.
but then can we ever master fear to the point where we don't ever fear anything? Because I feel like it's
Yeah,
like a physiological instant. It's like,
a chemical reaction.
yeah. So is there
When
maybe?
you think about fear, I would say that fear is, someone said this to me once, and I think it's actually quite true, that fear is your imagination that's gone out of control. Like when
Mm,
you're fearing, when you're the balcony example, when you open those doors, you're imagining everything that could happen. It's not
mm,
real. Those things haven't happened. There's a difference between danger and fear. Okay.
mm,
Danger is I am about to get shot in the head. Fear
mm.
is I can't go outside because there are people with guns and they might shoot me in the head.
Yeah.
That's an imagination. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there is a difference between I'm in direct danger, right? And even
Mhm.
the example you gave before about I would be the sort of person who would go up to the edge and check out the view from the edge of a balcony,
I know you
whereas
would.
you might step back, okay? Both of those are actually in a position of safety. And then you use the example, I wouldn't climb over the edge and try and balance myself on. That's a position of danger.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like, and there are people who have learnt to navigate through danger. There's no doubt. But
Mhm.
fear in itself, when you think about where that actually comes from, that it's an imagination that's out of control. Then my question is, and I'm going to put it up on the screen because I'd like other people to think about it. Does God cause fear?
No, because there's no fear in love.
So it's not of God. So how can we say, yeah, no, it's healthy though? It's good for us.
Mm. Is it then? Well, if there's no fear in love, but you have to learn what that love is. You have to work through it to actually get to know the Lord and to know his love for you. So, I
Okay, so Jesus is a good example. What did he fear?
don't know, did he fear anything?
Well, I mean, he must have, because fear is healthy. And he had to work through the fear to get to God's love.
Do you think that he like, what do you think he felt when he was on the cross and said, my God, why have you forsaken me?
I would say that he felt abandoned and he felt emptiness. Oh, that's the things I
Not
would say.
fear?
I don't know. And I'm asking you, does God cause fear?
I don't know. Like, if we get technical about it, the chemical reactions that cause fear, is that how God designed us to be, or is that just a result of the fall and of sin coming into the world?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Adam and Eve, I think maybe the first time there was fear mentioned is when Adam says, we hid because we were afraid. They're talking to the Lord
Mm,
after they've eaten from the forbidden tree. And they say,
mm.
um, we hid ourselves because we were afraid of you seeing us. Oh no, is it ashamed or afraid?
What's that?
What Adam and Eve said to the Lord. Did they say we were ashamed of our nakedness or we were
Afraid.
afraid?
Oh, that's a good question. Hang on. That's in Genesis, yeah?
Yeah. Because maybe
Genesis.
that's the
You
first
keep
place.
talking and I'll look it up.
'Cause, yeah, that might be the first place we see fear mentioned in the Bible. So Emeka has been adding in, and I'm very
I
pleased to
know,
say that
yeah.
he agrees with me.
I know he does because you're both wrong. Okay, that did say I hid. I heard you come in the garden and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. The first time we felt fear was after sin.
Yeah.
Mecca's made some good points too, by the way, which we'll bring up in a minute.
Yeah.
But keep going with your thoughts there.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. Like, it's a chemical reaction in our brain. So it's a way that our body functions. Does that mean that the Lord gave us fear, but he doesn't cause fear? Maybe he's just given us fear as a way for us to process, and like other things in our lives, it's like developed beyond.
I think there's only one thing that is worthy of our fear, right? And Mecca's brought it up here. This is what he says. Chukwemeka says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so the only thing that's actually worthy of our fear is God. And even if you look at the word in Hebrew, it's Yeshua. Yeshua means a reverence and means an awesome. So actually realizing that God is awesome, that God is powerful, that God is everything, that God is incredible. That's it. That's the beginning of wisdom. You see, fear puts the focus on yourself, right? When you think about fear, it's an emotion that's driven in a chemical reaction that's on the inside of you. When you think about the awesomeness of God, you're looking to who God is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So that's why the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, because it's Yeshua. It's when we recognize the awesomeness of God, when we recognize the magnificence of God.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So then, does God cause fear? Because you're saying it's healthy.
What do you think? I'm out of thoughts now. I'd like to hear alternative opinions.
Yeah, I think that I don't think that God designed us to have fear. There's too many scriptures that say, do not fear, do not fear, do not fear. And the key one is that 1 Peter 1, where it says that perfect love casts out all fear, and that God is love. So why would God want to cast out all fear? Why not just some fear? Why doesn't he say perfect love casts out the bad fear? Because some fear is good, so let's keep some of it. That either that or the word of God's a lie. Like, we've got to make a choice. We've got to make a distinction. We've got to make a determination as to whether we want fear or whether we don't want fear. I don't think fear is healthy. I don't think we're designed to contain fear within ourselves. I think that fear, it creates irrationality, it creates anxieties, it creates sicknesses, it creates separation. So I can't see how God causes that. There's nothing in the Bible that says God causes fear. There's only things in the Bible where he says, don't fear, don't fear, don't fear, don't fear. Look to me. Consider how awesome I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why if perfect love casts out all fear. Remember a while ago I spoke at our church, and I spoke on the word fear. In Greek, the word fear. So here in Hebrew, it's the word Yeshua. That's where that fear of awesomeness and reverence comes from. But then if you look at what in that verse where it says perfect love casts out all fear, the word there is in Greek, and the word in Greek is phobos, which is where we get the word phobia from. But phobos was written by Peter to the church, and it has another meaning. Phobos literally means to withdraw from the will of God. So when it says perfect love casts out all fear, I think we have these moments where we have a decision whether we allow fear to come in or we allow perfect love to come in. Fear withdraws you or makes you step back away from God. Love actually causes you to walk towards God. And we allow fear to dictate our decision making. And I think a better form of decision making is actually love. Like, what would you rather base your decisions on, fear or love? Fear or wisdom? Like, ultimately.
Oh, yeah. Love. My first tendency is fear because I have such a high fear of pain. But love is better.
Yeah. We've got another person who's commented, Daz Garland has mentioned this, and I absolutely agree with you, Daz. One fear spreads more fears, and not just in ourselves, but not just with others, but even internally as well. We live where fear is a control factor for us as well. When we read certain things and we have certain symbols and signals, we are taught to fear those things, and that causes us to avoid them rather than actually making the decision based on love, based on wisdom. Wisdom's a far better determining factor for our decision making than fear, surely.
Yeah.
Like if you looked at the wisdom of it, you know that when you're standing out on that balcony, the balcony is not going to fall.
Oh.
It's not going to fall, is it?
Probably not.
The rail's not going to fall off, is it?
I mean, probably not. Statistically not.
It's not going to fall off. You're allowing fear to dictate your decision making. Fear is then becoming your reality.
Yeah.
And you know what fear causes you to do? The same thing it caused Adam and Eve to do in the Garden of Eden: run and hide. That's the truth, hey?
Gosh. Yeah.
So even you were talking about your relationships before, Jaz. And you're saying, yeah, but fear's allowed me to do, recognize this, this, and this. No, that's craziness. That's you can't think like that. Like the Bible says that guard your heart, for it's the wellspring of life. You don't just let your heart out to everyone. I've said this to you before. If you had $100 million hidden in a safe in your house, A, you wouldn't tell everyone that it's in a safe in your house, and B, you wouldn't just give everyone the code and say take what you want when you want, would you? More than likely, if you've got $100 million, you've got that thing under lock and key, and you've got different systems that are there to protect it, and you've got someone standing guard. We've got to be the same with our heart. Why is it that we would guard $100 million, but you won't guard your heart? Do you know what I mean? That's not a fear. That's not a fear-based thing. That's a wisdom-based thing.
Yeah.
And if we're not good at dictating those decisions, then we've got to go to someone who is, which is why we have the Holy Spirit as our guide and our counselor. He's the one who protects us and strengthens us in those things. Yes. So we go, Holy Spirit, should I trust this person with this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right now, we're in a situation right around the world where fear is dictating decisions far too much. And I'm not just talking about fear of coronavirus. I'm talking even about the fear of change. We spoke about change last time we chatted. And there are people who are fearing the changes that churches are having to go through. Come on, that's my whole world. And I'm aware that there are pastors right now who are going, what if we can never meet again? What does this mean? Well, it means that God's going to do something new. I'm not afraid of what the changes that are going to happen. What if we can't do international trade or fly internationally for a while? Well, it means things will change for a while. Of course it's a bummer, but what if God's got something better planned? And focusing on our fear rather than on the opportunities that are right around us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I'm very upset about no travel.
Yeah, well, aren't we all? Yeah. What are others think who are watching this? Do you think those who are watching God causes fear? Emeka, if you're still watching, do you think that God causes fear? So what do you think? Yeah.
From what you were saying before, like, okay, there's no fear, but then is it a different kind of fear, the fear of the Lord? If he doesn't cause that fear, if he doesn't cause fear, then how is that fear of the Lord developed in us? Is it our own human response to the Lord?
Yeah.
Is it the kind of response that he elicits from us?
I think it's a natural reaction to what you see. So I know you're afraid of heights, so it may not necessarily work for you, this example. But have you ever made it up to the top of a lookout? Oh, Noosa. You know when we've been to Noosa before, and we've gone for jogs along the Noosa Parkland, right? The national park there. You know when we get to the end and there's the lookout there? When you're looking out and like it's magnificent ocean in front of you and it looks blue and the sun's out and it's just that morning warmth on you and you've got the rainforesty stuff in the background. What are you thinking on the inside?
I want to go for a swim.
Yeah. But are you thinking, how beautiful is this?
Yeah. You
know that feeling of, man, this is magnificent. This is awesome. Yeah. That's what it's like. When you see God, that's the feelings that you have. You don't go, "Oh no, it's God! Oh no!" You go,
Yeah.
"That's awesome. That is magnificent."
I guess, like, yeah, to an extent, like now I'm thinking of it in that context, I do stand there and go, oh, this is so beautiful, it's so amazing, and I'll get as close as I can manage to the edge. But there's still that thought in the back of my head, like, okay, but like, watch where you're stepping, be aware of what the danger is.
Sure.
So I guess with the Lord, that's what we do. We do go, oh my gosh, he's so awesome. But then we've also got that element of there is so much power here that is literally uncontrollable. We don't have like any impact on that power. So I guess it's like
But you know
similar.
what? That's a great example, because even when you said that, it's almost like, imagine we were in the presence of God, and we were feeling, wow, that's awesome. And he was like, come closer. And we're like, but it's too magnificent. I might die. He's like, no, 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 just come closer, come closer, come closer. That's essentially what it's like. And that's the whole thing with Jesus. Jesus came so that we would actually have to we'd have an opportunity to be able to get closer to God.
Yeah.
So it's the removal of those things. Now, don't get me wrong. We need to be wise, and we need to not just actively go into danger. I'm not asking whether God's ever going to put us in danger. 100%. If you follow God, if you follow Jesus, there will be moments where your life will absolutely be threatened, where you will be in danger, where there may even be a point where you have to lay your life down for the sake of others. That is a part of our life journey. But there's no fear. There's no fear in that. So there's a difference between danger and fear.
Yeah.
And when fear is gone, right, you can choose willfully to go into danger. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those who are being martyred for their faith is because fear is gone and they willfully go into danger.
Yeah.
Those who are being persecuted and sent to prison, they're not hiding away in their faith. They're willfully going into danger. And I say that not to say that they're being foolish. Sometimes they are. But when wisdom is still applied and you're still in danger, that's the way it is sometimes.
Yeah.
So our lives aren't free from danger. They can be free from fear, though.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree.
So how would you apply it to your life? How would you remove fear from your life?
Like, I actually had to face one of my biggest fears this year, and I don't really feel like going into details on that. But since I did, it was about 2 months ago, maybe. Since I did that, I've noticed that I do feel a lot less anxious and fearful. Like, I was even at a hotel room, I think on the 20th floor. And I like walked right out to the balcony, got up right to the ledge, put my hands on it. And I was like just looking out and looked down. I was like, oh, so interesting. And then like later on, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I actually did that. But the reason why I did that first fearful thing is because I knew it was a situation that needed to be addressed. And like I was terrified when I was doing it. Like I was shaking. It was so scary. But I was like, no, this actually needs to be addressed. It needs to be done. And so I did it. Like, you know how you hear that phrase, do it afraid? I think I did do it with that anxiety still in me, but because I've now faced that, and I did it prayerfully and with, I called you for support. I sought out wisdom in that. I was able to go, well, that's fine if there's a fear. Oh, I don't know. Like, now I kind of feel like, like I'm finding myself like much more confident in doing things because I've faced that fear. And I'm not feeling fear as much anymore. And
so it's removed it.
Yeah, to an extent. And I think I did it because I was trusting the Lord. Again, I was trusting the Lord. I sought him out as well. And I said, okay, Lord, if this is actually something that needs to be addressed and you want me to deal with, then I'll do it. And I guess like now I'm like, okay, well, even though that situation was terrible, I'm still trusting the Lord in
Right.
things. So instead of going like, oh, I'm so scared of doing that, it's like, well, if it needs to be addressed, if it needs to be faced, then the Lord's going to carry me through that and protect me and keep me and help me with the aftermath of whatever it is. So yeah, I think it's just probably that confidence that's come from being able to face a fear and not let it control me and not let it dictate a situation. So that's what I definitely used to do. I used to let a lot of fears, like, make my decisions for me instead of actually going, no, it's not going to happen anymore.
How do we let love make the decision instead of fear?
Yeah, well, like even in doing that, I did think, well, this is something that I need to address because it's going to allow like love for myself and health for myself.
Good.
And also because the situation needed to be addressed. And that was a loving thing to allow to flow out into that. Yeah, so yeah, it's like, oh yeah, and like, you know, if you're acting out of love, not your love for things, but out of God's love for you, then you can't go wrong.
Yeah, so I'm asking the question now, even for those who are watching and you want to bring an answer. How can love remove fear? You know, for me, I look at an recent example. I was catching up with an old friend last night, and I made a decision just recently after reading a book. I made a decision that anytime I felt compelled to share this, I would. So I made a decision. I prayed about it and just said, Lord, anytime I really feel inside of me to tell people that you love them, I will. So I just was going to say, you know, hey, I'm not sure if you believe that God is real or not, but I believe he's real, and he wants to let you know that he loves you today. Anyway, so I'm sitting there at Macca's catching up with this person, having a coffee. Don't judge me on drinking Macca's coffee, not because I wanted to, because I was there with someone else and I loved them enough to do it. Anyway, as I'm sitting there, this person's walking past, and I really feel compelled to tell them. And if I'm honest, fear begins bubbling up in my stomach. And the thing that helped me address it was when God asked the question, "Do you not love them enough to tell them? Do you not love me enough to tell them?" And I was like, far out. I'm letting fear, I was going to let fear dictate my decision to be like, no, it's weird, it's awkward, all of those things. But instead, I pushed through, I told the person, and really interestingly, they almost started crying. Hey, I was really like blown away. I was thinking they're gonna just go, "Oh, what a loser, what a weirdo."
Yeah.
But they honestly just like took a gasp and like had to compose themselves for a moment. It was a really powerful experience for me anyway, to kind of go, if I love that person enough, I'll allow that to be the thing that actually makes the decision.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So love
Yeah.
is a more powerful agent than what
Yeah.
fear is. Love
Yeah.
is what can remove fear. Love of yourself is what you said before, Jaz. And it was like, yeah, you allowed that the love for yourself to go, no, Jaz, you got to do this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Another really easy example is if somebody was threatening my children, you know, with a weapon, you better be sure that the love of my children would remove the fear of that weapon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as
Yeah.
that. Love, that's
Yeah.
where love becomes more powerful than fear in that
Yeah.
circumstance and situation.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like love is so powerful.
so how do we do that now, right? We're faced with this coronavirus outbreak, loads of change going on. Chaz, how do we allow love to remove fear of everything that's happening around our world right now?
I think it just comes back to, again, like it's not our love that's going to overcome this fear. It's knowing and going deeper and just submerging ourselves in God's love, because then once we're in God's love, like everything comes from that. We act because we know how loved we are. We love others because we know and we've experienced love, and so we're able to go and do that for others. So yeah, it's just knowing love. If you know love, like, you know, when someone's in love and they've, like, you know, started dating someone or just got married, oh my gosh, especially if they've just got married, you know, they just got married, you know. Or like even just engaged or something, like, you know, because it just bubbles out of them. It's all they can talk about. It's everything that they're doing is about that love. And so when we're fully engaging with God and recognizing his love and acknowledging and allowing him to love us as well, then like we can't stop loving others. We can't stop acting and speaking out of love. And then, yeah, like, you know, from that spending time with the Lord to get to know his love, we're going to get more of his wisdom as well. So then we're going to be acting wisely, and we're not going to be allowing like insecurities or anxieties or fears be the determining factors in what we do. And like, even like, you know, I've definitely had times where I've been like, oh, like, you know, in really, really healthy, great relationship with the Lord, a great season of that. And then like fears and doubts will pop up in my mind. So I'm not saying that you're perfect once that doesn't pop up, but I think that, pardon me, that growth comes from when your response is not to go, oh no, but to go, all right, but what does the Lord say about that? Or actually, it's like, it might be your first response, but it's not your last response to that situation or to that fear. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? How would you go about that?
I think your answer was brilliant, Jazz. I think that at the end of the day, right now, as we look around the world, we can allow fear to determine what we will or won't do. I think that love just settles us down just a little bit. It actually kind of goes, hang on a minute. There are people that I love in my life, and I want to actually focus on that. For you and I, we are firm believers in the power of Jesus, and so our focus is on his love. Our focus is on the love of God and what that develops. I think what that does is it just removes the sting of fear. It removes the power of fear, the knots in our stomach, all of those things. When you go, God, you love me. God, you love me. You just repeat that saying over and over again. But then we can allow wisdom to be the determining factor of our decision.
Yeah.
As we do that, man, we can move forward right now in a dangerous world. We are living in a dangerous time.
Yeah.
We can make a decision based on wisdom that's come from God's love rather than on fear. And so I think that love removes fear by taking the sting out of it and allowing us to make a better decision.
Yeah.
It just settles us, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it really does.
So let me encourage you, if you're watching this today, as we wrap this up today, if you're watching this and you've been feeling fear with everything that's been going on, can I encourage you, would you just try praying for God's love? Just right now, today, would you ask for God to fill you from the top of your head to the bottom of your toe with his perfect love? Allow it to just wash all that fear away from you and make decisions based on wisdom. Be safe out there. We don't have to intentionally put ourselves in danger. We do need to be safe. And we do need to make sure that we're making wise decisions that just don't need to be based on fear. They can be based on love. They can be based on the love of God. They can be based on the love of others. They can be based on the love for yourself, for your family. So today, as the state of Queensland gets gripped by fear, we would like you to get gripped by the love of God instead. So from Jazz and I, and all of us here at City Point in Ipswich or anywhere really, on behalf of all those that love Jesus, today, grab a hold of his love and allow it to make good decisions for you. Thanks so much for joining us and all your wonderful comments today. That's it for Jazz and I. And we look forward to seeing you guys the same time next week for another installment of Lunch Out Loud, where who knows what we'll be talking about. Jazz probably does, but the rest of us have no clue. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.